Hi guys, and here we have a follow-up video. This one is my Heljan O gauge class 33. It's sort of a deja vu video because on this locomotive, which was an eBay purchase, I have this to do. Yep, just like the 47, split gears. Common issue, and this is how you do the 33. Again, I'm going to wing it. This is as I find it and as I do it. So, yep, cracking loco, let's get on. Right, the first thing we're going to do is remove the body. And what we have, I'll try and get it visible to you. Next to the mounting brackets for the bogies are two other screws, one each side. So I'm just going to whip them out. There's that one. This loco is actually bought just to be a project. What it's going to do is get a complete change of identity for something a bit more modern. Green isn't here. I was going to possibly do 33008 easily because I was a easy driver for a while, but it was out of my era, and green is out of my era. So what I'm going to do is go channel tunnel construction livery. When I was an apprentice at Leakin, these were whizzing up and down with construction traffic for the channel tunnel, and I remember them doing that, so that is what I'm going to go for. Right, what we have now, it appears we've got the motor connections and lighting connections and pickup connections. So what I shall do is just grab a quick photograph of those, and then I'll disconnect the wires to the bogies so that I can take them off. Okay, so I grabbed a quick still shot which I showed you just before this segment, and I'm now going to disconnect the black motor wire, the black track wire, the red and black. So it's these four here. Pretty straightforward. You don't, I'm sure there's probably a way where you don't have to take the whole bogie out, but why make it difficult? So motor wires and track wires. So they're all free, and I'll do the same on this end. One thing I will also be doing on this project is fitting DCC sound. I'll probably go with a Lego Man Biffo because I like his sounds. They are good quality and good chips. So anyway, that's that job done. I'm just going to swap screwdrivers back to the Phillips head, and what there are now, hopefully, is, you probably can't see, well, you won't be able to see it, but again, there's a little saddle that holds the bogie pivot. So I'll take those four screws out. Much smaller screws than the body shell screws lengthwise. So with the four saddles, catch the screws so I don't lose them everywhere. Just keep the wires out of the way. hoping that this will just pull through. We've got the light wires from the front sort of holding it up, so I'll get them out. There we go. So I shall just repeat exactly the same for the other end, and I'll have the bogies out. I won't record this. Right, so the bogies are disconnected. Right, there's differences here. One has a great big long tails on the motor, and one has short tails. The one with short tails was actually fitted on the battery box end of the chassis, and the long tails was on the fuel tank end of the chassis. I hadn't actually noticed that there was a difference until I'd taken it out, so this is for my benefit as much as yours. And basically this is what we're holding the bogies in. So just two little holes, two screws, and they clamp round this lug just there, and they create the bogie pivots. So that's that job. That's bogies disconnected and removed. So the next job will be to look underneath and remove the gear chain. We'll have a look at that next. So, right, as both bogies will be the same, I'll remove and rebuild just one on the camera, and I'll do what I did last time, but I'll take off the bottom plate of both bogies so I can see the layout of the gears and how the gears mesh with each other. Because if there's spaces in between and I've got to take this all apart, then I want to keep one complete, just so I can double check which way and compare. So again, 4 screws hold the bottom plate on, and that will reveal the gear train. And both bogies should be exactly the same. Oh, there you go, the wheels, and there goes the screw that I couldn't see. So we put the wheels to one side, bogie train to one side, and we'll just open up for reference. Because if it's like the 47, there'll be little packers and spacers that hold the gears in certain order. Sorry about this, it's just slightly more awkward with the camera in the way. I would have hoped by this stage that Heljan would have sorted out all these split gear issues, but even the 37s have it, the 47s have it. Obviously the small saucer locos have the issue also. Oh, there goes the other. And, you know, you would have thought they would have sussed out the issue and rectified. So there we go, we'll just keep that one as a reference, so that if I have any issues, I have one that I can reference. So next is to separate the halves of the chassis, because this is the gear that splits. Oh, and which bogies? Yeah, this is the bogie with the split one. It's the tight, and yep, this one's got a big split on there. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but a big split on that gear. And other than that, it will turn freely. I'll just double check. Yep, this one is fine, no split gears. But what I will do, as I did with the 47, because I don't want to have to keep taking the thing apart every time a gear splits, is replace all 4 gears and keep the 3 good ones as spares in case they don't split and the new ones do at some stage, but I'm hoping that once this is done, this will be good. So I'll just pause here and I'll come back to you in a second. Okay, what we have now, bogie frame to remove. What I've discovered is the ends just pop out. There's 4 little lugs on it and they just spring out. The back of the bogie is just plain and the front of the bogie has the lifeguards on. So they're easy enough to keep the right way around. One is also longer than the other. So the bogie should now be in a position where I can split it in halves once I just hopefully just pop off from the screw head side. Oh dear, well that's not happening, is it? Right. Apart from the dinging of my phone, it appears that these bogie side frames are glued on, which I wasn't expecting. Oh, no, one's come off. One has come off. Unfortunately, it's not the side I wanted to come off. Don't want to break it. Sorry about doing this off camera, and it's not exciting to watch, but you might get to hear me curse if this doesn't come off in a minute, because I don't want to break the bogie side frame. I haven't got a spare side frame. I've got, there we go. Hang on, what's come off in your hands? Brake blocks. A brake block has just come off in my hand. And, but it's pulled off anyway without doing too much damage. Other than that, I think everything else is still on there. Yeah, it appears to be, yeah, just the one brake block just unpopped. So I can sort that out. So now we have the motor shell, the clamp, and 3 other screws that hold the halves of the bogie together. So 4 screws to remove. That one, that one, that one, and that one here. Pretty straightforward. One screw. For looking away from what you're doing. 3 screws and the one around the motor clamp. 4 screws. Okay. They're all fully unscrewed. Okay, so now I should be able to just lay it on this way with the gears 1, 2, 3. Right, so it's these 2 gears here. There's one, there's the other. Coming out. Leave all the other gears in place. Cannot, yeah, there. Can you see that split? I'll just turn that around. It's right, there it is. You can just see the split there, and that's all it takes. And that's all that just screws the entire loco up. One bogie would rotate, and the other one wouldn't. Currently, the other gear appears unsplit Can't see any starts of a split, but we'll leave that to one side with the broken one. We'll get the two new gears. Two new gears. We'll get a smear of grease off the old ones. Get some lubrication on the gears. Nowhere near as much grease as was on the old 47 that I had. So we'll stick them back in. This is going to be fiddly. I might get my tweezers. Just hang on a second. I'll just get my tweezers. Okay, tweezers. Much easier than big fat fingers. It says how much easier than big fat fingers. Easy one first. There we go. And slide the holes back together again. So the holes are all in place. Rotate freely. No wires pinched. And you've got little holes for the wires to run through so you don't damage them. They're all good. So I'll just stick the 4 screws. You won't need to watch me do all that. Just the same 4 screws. Put them in and knit them up. There we go. 4 screws holding the 2 halves. The motor is clamped. Wires aren't pinched. Yep, they're just nicely secured in their little housings. Drop the wheels back in. It's just a straightforward, simple reassembly. Put the base plate back on. Screws. Unpopular today is typical, isn't it? I can speak to my wife and tell her I'm be quiet, I'm all in the back room recording. But my mates on the other end of the internet don't know that. But there we go. And it spins freely. I'll just make sure it all goes all the way around. One full revolution of the wheels, all free, nice and snap. No tight bits, no binding. So it's a case of, this is the bogie, that is the step which goes away from the motor side. This is the half without. And yeah, quite simple. There's 4 parts on the lugs and the front and back, but I've got to re-secure the brake. Where's the brake hanger? So, butterfingers. 2 tiny little pins hold that on there. So I should just push. to highlight. There we go, so that's back on there. So on the 4 lugs, 2 lugs per side. Back frame. Quite straightforward. I'm sure there's someone out there that says, oh, you don't have to do all of that, you don't have to take the bogie completely off or things like that, but this is a job that I've not done before. Put a bit of thought, there we go. 1 bogie, all done. I shall just repeat that off camera with the second one because you don't want to watch it all again, but exactly the same. Take the frames off, split the 2 halves, 2 gears out, 2 gears in, easy peasy. Right, that was straightforward, just the same as the other one. I now have 2 bogies that will keep on moving and rotating freely. So hopefully now, I'll just get these bogies mounted back in the frame with the 4 saddles that locate over these lugs. I would have put the bogie frames on afterwards, but I don't think I can get them between to go over behind these lugs here. I'll just bring that in closer. These go outside the bogie frame and that sort of makes it too narrow to be able to put the bogies on and then put the bogie frame on afterwards like you can with the double O gauge version. So I'll just bear with me and I'll come back to you once I've got the 2 bogies back in the frame. And there we have it, back together. All I've got to do now is decipher which wire is what, from whether it goes up or down. The black one on this side is the motor and the red one on that side is which is why I took the photograph of the circuit board to see which colour wire went into which, because they are reversed at each end. One had black and red next to each other, the other one had 2 reds and 2 blacks. So always useful for taking to take a photo for a reference. So I'll just reconnect the wires and then we'll give it a test to see if for the first time since I've owned this loco I can get it to move somewhere. Well, I've made a slight error here. When I photographed the circuit board I actually didn't get this end, I just got that end. So I've had to try and guess which side, polarity wise, red and black. I've copied this end at the minute. So track black, but I don't think that's right. So what I'm going to do is disconnect the motors and get my multimeter and put it on continuity check. And what I shouldn't have is a motor on one side, wheels on one side having a continuity to wheels on the opposite side to the opposite end, and this one to this one. What I should get is continuity between this wheel, and this wheel to this wheel. Got to disconnect the motor because through this circuit board it is actually connected because it's in DC mode. So that's quite simple. Right screwdriver, just disconnect the motor. If the motor's connected back to front, all it means is one bogie will rotate one way and one bogie will try to go the other. But that can be rectified quite easily and tested quite easily. So I'll just take you through this just to make sure we got the 4 wires. So that's the motor's disconnected. So that all that should be connected now, I'm hoping, is just these each side together. So bear with me, I'll go and find my digital meter and come back. And we're back. Charged batteries. There we go. But anyway, so just to recap, overload is open circuit and if I'm connected to it, tiny little bit awkward. So if I'm connected right on the pickups, then these wheels here on this bogie should be connected to this wheel here and not across the bogies. So easy way to check. So I'm looking for a very low reading, and I have 13.15 million ohms. So this wheel is not connected to this wheel. So if I go down to the bottom wheel on the axle, there we go, 0.8. So I'm actually connected across the bogie. So what I've got to do is the two pickup wires on this end, because I know this end is correct, the track wires, reverse them. So the one on, and then we'll just recheck. So red at the top this time. Black next to it. So hopefully now what we'll do is back on the side here, see the wheels. So now open circuit, but this time it should be a low number. There we go, this wheel is connected to this wheel and not to the bottom wheel, and I'll connect the bottom wheel to the bottom wheel, and we're good. So now I know that we are connected lengthways down the loco on the pickups. Now the motor I had in the photograph, so I know which way this round was, but this end again, who knows, back, front, forwards, backwards, I'm not quite sure. But what I will be able to do on this end is reverse it if necessary. So I'll reconnect this end as per the photograph, which I shall double check. Photo, red's in the middle, black, right. Yep, right, so the red is in the middle and the black is at the bottom on this end. So he goes in there. So I definitely know that this end is connected the right way round. Job's done. You've just got to make sure keep all the wires away from the flywheels for when we test it in a minute. So they're all out of the way, these are out of the way, and I shall connect, because I sort of remember it being opposite to this end. We've got the reds together and the black on the outside, so this time I'm going red, black, because I'm sure that's the way it was connected. So we shall see. What I shall now do is lay this on the side and get a controller rigged up with a couple of wires, so I can just come over here and check which way we run. Okay, so I've now rigged up a controller to these two wires, and we'll just touch it on these wheels here, and the motors are turning, both bogies are turning free, and all the wheels are going the same way. So I've now made sure I've got all the wires connected correctly. So we'll just relay the wires back in where they're supposed to be, secured in the body shell. We'll put the body shell on, and then I'll get to move it properly as a loco. Back in a second. Well, I've now fitted the body with the 4 screws that were supplied, long thin things. Magnetic screwdrivers are handy in that position because you can't get your fingers in there. I did a little segment, but I hadn't pressed record, and then me setting all this up was recorded with me cluttering around the room and putting the track up and stuff, rummaging through boxes to find the wires for this controller. Anyway, that side, so all I was discussing was over tightening the screws, but it doesn't really matter. But anyway, so here we have my class 33 Heljan O gauge first run, and there we have it, nice and smooth, nice and quiet, and forward and backwards. Lovely. So a nice easy little job, nothing scary or technical about it. Yeah. My next job now will be to replace the buffer beams, because I've done one this end, just to work out how to do it, because when it arrived in the post the buffers have been pushed all the way in, and the actual red part on this end here, the buffer stock, had split and the buffers were jammed in hard. It was both ends, and they, so it was a case of get onto Howells and get a replacement set. Same with this handrail here, yeah, this one here is broken at the bottom. Howells are brilliant as usual, supplied buffer beams for me and handrails for me. Because of the livery that I'm going to paint this as in channel tunnel construction livery, triple grey, the buffer beams that I purchased were black instead of red. So my next project now is to replace the buffer beams, strip the body shell down, repaint it, get some, just like the real thing, detailing parts, because this pipe shouldn't be on that end, but there should be pipes on that end and various bits and pieces, and the lifting links aren't very good, or the bogie securing links, whatever you want to call them here, and the exhauster, mounted with two little pins on the bogie, and as the bogie turns on a sharper radius it knocks it off on this bracket. So that was, some design flaw, error, call it what you will, but it's a bit of a weakness on the model. But other than that, this is a beautiful model. It really captures the class 33, more so than their double O gauge, because the roof is in much better shape. So yeah, I like this loco. I'm going to do it up as one that I'll remember from when I was an apprentice at Chartleacon back in the day. And yeah, I might do a few little more videos about that. I hope this has been helpful to you, and shown that it's a simple little thing. Lots of screws and just a little slow, take it slow, and it's all good. Catch you next time.